Councillors, staff and members of the gallery, welcome to the ordinary meeting of Council for the City of Prospect for Tuesday the 23rd of September. And I now read you the Kaurna acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we meet on today is the traditional land of the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people are the custodians of the Adelaide region and their cultural and heritage beliefs are still important to the living Kaurna people today. Now we do the council prayer. We humbly bow before thy throne of mercy, O God, our Heavenly Father, and seek wisdom and understanding as we face the duties of our united task, praying for the welfare of our city and the peace and prosperity of our land. In the name of Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Please be seated. On leave we have Councillor Priest and an apology from Councillor Scott Roberts. Everyone else is present and accounted for, I think. So someone confirm the minutes to the ordinary meeting of Council for Tuesday the 26th and the special meeting of Council on Tuesday the 9th of September. So move. Councillor Dix, wish to speak to it?
Seconded.
Seconded by Councillor Lee, wish to speak to it? Any further debate? All those in favour? Yes, vote carried. Terrific. Mayor's report is on page 1500. It's a nice round number. Has anything to add to that, I don't believe. Bill checks out, so I'm happy for someone to move that as it's presented. Move Councillor Lee, wish to speak to it?
Thank you.
Seconder. Councillor Barnett, wish to speak to it?
No, thank you.
Any debate? Councillor Harris.
Just a quick question, sir. Doesn't the Deputy Mayor, when he acts on your behalf, I've seen before, his is added on there?
It can be, but when I get
I've
asked...
seen it like that before,
Yeah.
so being the last meeting, I thought I'd raise it again.
Thank you, Councillor. There's really no protocol around how these reports are done. I'm happy to note what the Deputy Mayor has done, but it's the Mayor's report, so got to be a bit careful. We clearly say this wasn't the Mayor, it was the Deputy Mayor. But as the Deputy Mayor wished to note any events that he attended on the Mayor's or on Council's behalf.
Excuse me, just the Meals on Wheels AGM, Prospect Meals on Wheels, last Thursday. I attended for the Mayor and presented a number of service awards and enjoyed a good afternoon there. So that's all on behalf of the Mayor.
Any tax back for us at all?
I do not, but I can send them on your behalf. Thank you.
Noted. Sacrifice is noted. Please add a note. The mover and the seconder are okay with that? Mover, you happy to note that? Seconder is happy. You've got to seek the meeting to include a note about Deputy Mayor attending the Meals on Wheels AGM. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Done. Added? Against? Yeah, bad luck. Miss out. And that therefore becomes part of the report. And just want to note too, when speaking to my report, just briefly, that that's Curtis Eichler's last meeting with us tonight, I understand, is a council meeting, is that correct? Yes. And as a Messenger Press journalist, we've enjoyed a good working relationship with you, Curtis, on behalf of council. You've not done us any favours and you've not used us unnecessarily. You've just, in my view, been one of the hardest working Messenger Press journalists we've had. So I just want to say on my behalf and on council's behalf, I think too, thank you for the hard work you put in to listen and to talk to our community about the things that we're doing and the things that the community is doing. I think you've done a great job. So please join me in sharing. Well, he's off to the port side and down at council. He's not sure what he's going to write about. I think he'll work out pretty quickly. There's plenty to talk about now.
Yeah, that was cool.
Any further debate on this item? If that's the case, back to Councillor Lee. You wish to sum up?
Thank you.
All those in favour? Yes, it's carried. Verbal reports from council representatives on local government or community organisations. Are there any verbal reports? No? Okay. Questions with notice. We have nil. Are there any questions without notice? Councillor Harris.
My question is to you, Mayor. I've, over the last couple of weeks, heard both you and one of the councillors alongside me having great concern about the ads on Woolworths and Coles, all this sort of stuff. But I'm asking you, do you notice the biggest adverts we're having in the city at the moment is on Scotty's Corner with high mass demolition? I don't mind naming them. perfectly positioned trucks and that. They've taken a 2-week job, and I can honestly say they won't be gone this side of Christmas because they've only half done one building. So it's pretty good free advertising. They're hiding behind the Moscow Circus and that at the moment, but they position the trucks if they ever move, so much so that it's one of the busiest corners. 57,000 cars came through yesterday, I think it was, or the day before. I wasn't counting, I was just one at a time. But, it's pretty free advertising that I think is quite disappointing.
Okay, so third-party advertising is what we normally refer to it as. To the Director, the question is, I guess, have we noticed and what can we do?
Yeah.
Thanks for the question through you, Mr. Mayor. We're aware of the Moscow Circus signage, certainly. The Hindmarsh signage is difficult because it is on sort of working machinery that is performing a job on the site, and sometimes can be used for screening. So that's a little bit different kettle of fish to deal with. However, we staff visited the site this morning in recognition of some additional signage on the fence, and including Moscow Circus clown. So we'll be following that matter up.
No clowns on your watch, Director.
We laugh.
But Councillor, you might wish to consider a direction to the staff and a general business about that item.
Yeah, I just thought we might have gone to sleep by then.
Yeah. Further questions to that notice, Councillor Britton?
Sorry, just following up from Councillor Harris's question, in terms of the Moscow Circus sign, it's actually more further down Landmark Road, so I'm not sure if you're aware of that. But
Hiding behind the house.
Sorry?
Hiding behind the fence.
No, I think, it's on SA windscreens, I think it is.
Okay.
So just if we're dealing with it at one end, it's probably the three.
Well, I suggest a bit of a patrol wouldn't hurt if you're out and about, because the corner of Regency and Prospect gets hit too. Councillor Barnett?
Yes, further to signage.
Sorry.
My question is, most probably through the Mayor to planning section. Are we aware of, I believe there could be a breach. They're LED signs and they move, and they're quite, they're fairly distracting because it certainly caught my eye. And one of them is at Jeep on Main North Road, and the other one is, now I'm not sure which car department it's on, but it's on the Cemetery Lane side of Nissan, or the other one that's in there with them. Yeah, so do we just have that as a question?
Are they permitted?
Notice, or we do a general sign
The
thing?
question is, are they permitted?
Yes.
Okay. I'll get an answer from the Director.
Thanks for that. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Signage of that nature generally requires planning approval, and I think the ones you're talking about are on a certain site does require approval. I don't believe that on the Jeep or the Nissan site there is a valid approval. So start with
Jeep on a stick? No.
A long time ago.
It is on a stick, but it's just a...
Sorry, Councillor, just to follow up the question on behalf of the Councillor perhaps, but they're on trailers. Does that make any difference to the planning approval process?
Through the Chair, essentially it just makes it more difficult to determine the subject site at which they would need to apply for the planning approval. It still requires it regardless of where it's situated. The difficulty is by the time, and this is in practical sense, by the time you send the letter, the sign is often.
Well, I think this one's been in for some time.
yes.
If you are able to enforce it on a trailer, a car yard, then you should be able to enforce it on a trailer on a demolition site. It's just a bigger trailer.
Through the Chair, I haven't seen the Hindmarsh trailers. I thought we were talking about the size of trucks.
Well, they are trailers.
Yeah. Good. All right. Thank you.
Signs.
Thank you. Any further questions about notice about signage or any other topic you may wish to ask about? No, that's okay. We'll move on. Petitions. Item 9.1, we have a petition 38 Airlie Avenue, residents of Airlie Avenue, pages 1501 to 1504. There's a report going with the petition. Thank you, staff, for getting on top of that. I'd just like to call forward the head petitioner to come forward. Just grab some of these chairs over here, if you may. Thank you. And for the purposes of the minutes, if you just state your name and address.
My name is Carolyn Prince and I'm from 36A Ely Avenue.
Terrific. And you've got 5 minutes to talk about your petition.
Thank you. Firstly, thank you for letting me have my say on behalf of our small neighbourhood in Ely Avenue. I have been told this week that due to our petition that Eastern Adelaide Health did attend 38 Ely Avenue and check the premises and it was deemed suitable for people to live in. So essentially that was one of our concerns and probably the concern for council. I think most of the other issues fall into police, into their area. However, I would just, now I've got the opportunity, just like to reiterate to you all things that you may not have been aware of. That I have lived there for 10 years and the 10 years I've lived there, we've not had any reasonable tenants. And by reasonable I mean the address is constantly under police attention. In 2007 we had a very violent drug and bikie related home invasion where I did actually have bullet shells in my front yard as a result of that. Some of the other neighbours were called as witnesses to the district court. As a result of that, very few of the neighbours wanted to sign the petition for fear of recrimination, and that has been the case with police call-outs that most of the residents in that small area around number 38 won't call for police attendance for fear of what may happen to them. Since then, we have had more or similar and like tenants, as we believe that the owner of number 38 does have criminal associations. So his friends or colleagues are people that he rents premises out to. This year's been particularly bad. We've had 2 police raids in relation to drugs, which I have done a number of Crime Stopper actions, and as a result of that they have told me that there were some quite serious drug charges on the people that were residing there. However, the problem did keep on going on. We have, over a weekend, we could have up to 20 cars coming and going, and even after the last tenants have moved out, we're still finding syringes and youth condoms up in the street. The people in the direct vicinity are either single females, roughly around my age group, or families that have children under 10. So just not really very desirable for anyone in the street, and the fact that people don't want to bring the address to police or council attention for fear of what may happen to them. Those tenants have moved, Eastern Health have been in, and there have been some cosmetic repairs to it. The lawn's been mowed, rubbish has been emptied, and it does look slightly better. The house does have a toilet which is outside, there is no inside toilet, so our concern is that it was not likely to attract a family or similar. So once again, probably going to be rented out to more of the same. So unfortunately, they are police matters, I think, but council are aware, and that's all we really wanted. And, it has been deemed safe for people to live in, so not much else that we can do.
Okay, thank you. Receive any councillors have got any questions on it? Just it's on. Any questions?
Yes. Thank you, Carol, and the residents who brought this to our attention. I'm just wondering, you need an answer if the because this has been recorded, but for public consumption. But so I'll just think how I can phrase it. Has there been any advice given to you by the police that are involved as a way forward with this?
Not directly. I'm aware that Holden Hill have what is now called community policing. They have made a number of visits out and On Sunday, my other neighbour told me that they had attended again and asked her what was the situation. So they are more than aware of it. But no, their opinion is the same, that with the house the way it is, that it will probably just attract more of the same. So not much else they can do. If we get more people in, we'll just have to keep calling.
Right. Any further questions? Thank you for bringing it to our attention, and thank you for your presentation. If you just resume your seat in the gallery, we'll now debate this item. The councillors, the item is 1501-04, the recommendation on 1504. Does anybody wish to move as per, recommendation by 1502? You wish to move that way? Councillor Harris, wish to speak to it all?
Yes. Just fairly briefly, it was explained through the chair that, and also before we come here, a lot of the problems at this property is not actually our concern, or it's not our concern, legally our responsibility to do it. But I know there must be small areas that we can really keep an eye on, i.e. when the rubbish comes out, what's put in the rubbish and how it's disposed of. And I'd seen earlier, maybe report, I'm not sure if it's in the thing here, about the various incidents with rubbish and the rubbish bins and stuff. So I think there is still areas that we can look at, watching what's happening, and you know, I'm a bit disappointed when you come across, and I've seen some of these houses that you come across them, and the health authorities come in and look, and quite often, you know, and they sort of, and I'm thinking on the other side of Main North Road, up behind the hotel, I know this is okay, and you know, you're seeing the biggest rat in the world running along the back fence, but they miss that one because it's got 4 legs. So very disappointed for the people there living in a very good area, that some of these yabbies come and move in and destroy the houses. So unfortunately that's all we can do, so I'm moving it.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Lee, wish to speak to it?
Such a shame this is being recorded. There's so much I'd like to say, but I just can't. But I really feel for Caroline. I know that we experience similar issues with our neighbours, same sort of absent landlord, neglect the place, attract a certain kind of people, and then you have police raids every now and then at 3 o'clock in the morning. Certainly keeps your life interesting, but it's not something that you really want when you live in a suburb that's, you know, family oriented. So just accept this and acknowledge that there are pockets around the place where we have this problem, and God knows what we do with it, and just keep on top of it best we can.
Further debate, Councillor Barnett.
Yes, just echo the councillor's words. From time to time we do have some of these problem situations, and sometimes I suppose probably not what residents are undergoing the situation right now, but it does take possibly quite a long time to try and eradicate these things at various levels. I do have a question through the Mayor to our Director of Planning again. I know with the outside toilets, is there anything under planning that can be done in conjunction with Eastern Health Authority, that somehow we might be able to make some small changes that might somehow make a difference?
Last question. Director?
Thanks for the question, and through you, Mr. Mayor. Unfortunately, no, there's nothing we could do under the Development Act or the Building Code in relation to an outdoor toilet. It would have been constructed in accordance with the rules of the day when it was constructed. Different situation if it was a new house today, but that's the system that we are bound by. So having an outdoor toilet is not an issue if it's a historic matter. The issue is if the toilet is not functioning or creating an unpleasant impact on the amenity, and that's where the Eastern Health Association is involved.
Not properly connected.
Councillor Barnett, anything further?
I'm just trying to think of some other things we might be able to give the residents a small bit of hope for. I'm just wondering, is there anywhere, or perhaps one of our, through the Mayor again, our staff could talk with, is there anything connected with letting with being a landlord that we might be able to do some things? That I can happy if that's taken on notice.
I'll take the question, Director. Anything we can do with the landlord?
Through the Chair, I don't believe there's anything within Local Government Act or Development Act where we as a council could get involved in tenancy arrangements between landlord and other private citizens, unfortunately.
All right.
Okay. Further, Councillor?
Nothing comes to mind just at the moment.
Councillor Green.
Just following on from that line of questioning from Councillor Barnett, I acknowledge that we can't do much under the planning rules. Housing Improvement Act is a fund we have to help deal with substandard housing. I've not been inside this property, so I don't know if it's substandard, but I guess I'm just raising that as another potential tool we have at our disposal. And also to encourage, just to acknowledge the role of the Residential Tenancies Tribunal too, in terms of tenancy matters where there's disruption. And it's pretty hard for neighbours to go to the Residential Tenancy Tribunal. It's a pretty tough thing to do. It's a pretty tough thing to come here today to talk about this. And it might be that we can play some role in assisting residents in that regard as well. So they're probably comments more than questions, but they're things that we could also take on board.
I have addressed a few of these matters in my time, and they're difficult, no doubt about it. Thank you for coming and letting us know, but you're quite right, most of the matters are not a council matter. Councillor Groot's quite right to point out the housing improvement order process, which is where the occupant can request a reduction in rent because the premises are below a certain standard. But under that Act, which is a very, very old Act, that process has to be initiated by the tenant. So if you had a tenant you could talk to, then you could certainly encourage them to contact the Housing Improvement Branch about that. No doubt you're aware of the stakeholder process, and in other cases I've been involved in, councillors, there's been a campaign from neighbours to alert the police of every event, and they request a report number at every event. So the police put up a database, and it starts to red flag after a while because it's such a high frequency. Residential Tenancies Tribunal is also available, but it does take witness statements, and that can get tricky for neighbours. I'm happy that if an RTT action is organised by the neighbours and you're after a letter from me as the Mayor representing the Council about us receiving a petition, quite happy to do so. I've done that previously, and that does carry some weight. And one of the most effective answers I've seen is where the neighbours got hold of the landlord's phone number and simply phoned the landlord each and every time there was a disturbance, no matter what time of day or night. And the landlord just got driven absolutely bananas by it, and eventually invoked his development clause in the lease, demolished the house and built 2 fantastic townhouses on the allotment in accordance with our development plan. And that was the end of that problem, because it got rid of that tenant, that old house, and brought 2 brand new residences in, which of course elevated the type of tenant that he was getting. So just for interest members, and perhaps the petitioner was listening to, there's some strategies there that we can help with indirectly. But directly, the Director is quite right, just because you choose to have an outside toilet doesn't mean your place is uninhabitable. Provided you're not providing a fire hazard or a vermin hazard to the neighbours or a flooding hazard, there are very little we can do under our current powers. The good news is our Minister, Mr. Brock, who's coming to visit us in a few weeks, he's keen to open up the Local Government Act to explore giving councils more powers to be able to enforce property owners to look after their property and keep it in good shape, and to stop hoarding in particular, which has been a real problem for councils losing at court each and every time. So we look forward to that.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you. Any further debate on that item? If there's none, back to Councillor Harris just to sum up.
Thank you.
Well summed up. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. Thank you. So, petitioner, that concludes debate on that item tonight. You're welcome to stay for the balance of the meeting if you want to. Thank you very much for coming out and letting us know. And as I say, if we can be of assistance in those avenues that were spoken about, please get in touch with the Director or myself, and all the best.
Thank you on behalf of the other residents and our small neighbours.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming forward. Very good of you.
Thank you.
Right, we'll move on to the meeting. Deputations, we have nil. Motions on notice, we have one, 11.1 on page 1505 from Councillor Barnett.
I wish to move that the resolution of the 25th of March 2014, brackets Council Resolution 52/14, end bracket, be rescinded and the fees be reconsidered at the meeting of Council the 23rd of September 2014. And I have further discussion points about it.
Would you just speak to it now as the mover?
Right, well, it's really just notifying that to rectify an error in one section of the dog fees calculation for 2014-2015, and so the applicable fees quoted for dogs that were either D-sex microchipped with concession or D-sex trained with concession have been incorrectly calculated, and so the fee should have been 50 cents cheaper than the published amount, and so the net impact is estimated to be an unfavourable $120. And so we seek to rectify through this motion that.
Thank you, Councillor Barnett. Seconded by Councillor Dixon, who should speak to it. Further debate, Councillor Harris.
Yeah, being the carrier of paper, page 1501 to 1504 is about the previous article, so I'm not quite sure. Mine is simply a question. As small as it is, but it's about a monetary thing and that. Are we allowed to do that for the election?
CEO, just getting
No, it's only a small matter.
Right, that's your question.
Through the chair, yes, we are allowed to do any adjustment. A budget review is part of a normal council process adjustment, and that can be performed in line of council duty during their caretaker period. So that is my issue.
Yeah. Putting together what the lovely lady said and the minister here, I had him in this ear, so I put both of those things together and it's all right.
He said it was whoop. Thank you anyway.
That's all you heard.
You understand, Wolf?
Yeah, no, I got it all, some of everything. Any further debate? I just want the chair to note that we're putting fees down, taxes down, down, staying down.
I thought they didn't know that.
Councillor Barnett, did you wish to sum up?
No, I don't know what no is in dog language.
Wolf, I think. No. It's all the same. And concluded debate, all those in favour? Against, carried. Thank you. Declaration by members of a conflict of interest. Does anybody wish to declare a conflict in any item tonight? No? Okay, moving on to the protocol. We'll adopt those items unless they're withdrawn by members. First item, I'll ask you, anybody wish to withdraw item 19.1, our response to expert panel on the planning reform report? No? Comprehensive report, thank you staff, it's huge. They've done a great job. 20.1, Code of Conduct Complaint, Councillor Bruce Priest. He needs his option, so he needs to pull it out to choose an option. 20 point.
Sorry?
Did we pull out 19.1?
No, we haven't. We can if you. The election. Sorry, 20.2.
Sorry, mine was. I don't know if I want to open it up now, but anyway, I was going to call it out because I do want to limit in part 2 the legal costs to $2,000. I've had
20.1 I've pulled out. I have pulled it out.
Sorry.
Sorry, Councillor, there's options in the recommendation.
Yes. Yep, all right.
20.3, the annual business plan and budget process. Comprehensive reports. Anybody wish to pull it out?
Pulled out. Point 2.
20.2? Yeah, all right. Okay.
20.3 is not pulled out. 20.4, costs associated with video recording of council meetings and workshops, moved by Councillor Dixon. 20.5, SA Government Charter of Affordability. Does anybody wish to pull that out? 20.6, self-registration fees amendments. Anybody wish to pull that out? No. Go through. Okay, so have someone moved 19.1, 20.3, 20.5 and 20.6. Moved by Councillor Dixon, seconded by Councillor Harris. There's no debate. All those in favour? Against? They are carried. Thank you. Then we go to item 20.1, Code of Conduct Complaint, Councillor Bruce Priest, with recommendation on page 1535. And I might just throw to the CEO just to talk us through, well, the recommendation doesn't have options, but the options are clearly outlined above 5.1. CEO, can you just give us the latest advice?
Through you, Mayor, as is detailed in section 5, Council does have the opportunity of either taking no action or taking action as detailed. Under the Code of Conduct for elected members, if Council is of the view that is suspecting there is a breach of Part 3, we actually have a duty of care to forward it on. So my view is that we really must undertake this action. Even though circumstances may have changed in recent times, we do have a duty of care to follow it through, and that's what this recommendation allows us to do. I'm not leaving that.
Sorry, so you're saying that the Code of Conduct that the Minister's passed for us to comply with requires us to report breaches?
Yeah, I'll read to you. Clause 2.16, a failure to report an alleged or suspected breach of Part 3 of this Code is in itself a breach under this part, so we would be in breach of the Code ourselves as a elected member.
Okay, thank you, CEO. Does anybody wish to move it as it's presented? Okay, Councillor Dixon, you wish to speak to it? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lee, you wish to speak to it?
No, only to say that I totally agree. Even though that Councillor Priest hasn't re-nominated, I agree with the CEO. We have a duty of care to follow it through and follow a proper process and see justice run.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Barnett, I think, and Councillor Harris.
I'd just like to move an amendment to Part 2, and I've discussed this with the CEO, and so, I mean, what I'd like to see is that the Chief Executive Officer be authorised to take other reasonable steps in relation to this matter as advised by counsel and lawyers, with a limit on legal costs of $2,000. And I do that because I don't want to see, you know, even though we want this, we're bound as duty of care, but you know, thinking in terms of all the amounts of money that's been spent, ratepayers' money, been spent on before, I would like to see that limit put on that. I think the Chief Executive Officer can always come back to us and say, you know, I need more money to pursue this. So that's what I would like to see in that amendment.
Thank you. Just ask the CEO, does that present you any difficulties from an operation point of view?
Through you, Mayor, look, I don't anticipate this to be an overly complex process, and I would hope that I would be able to achieve what we're required to do, seeking legal advice within that figure. And I could always come back to council if I do overstep that mark. So it's neither here nor there from my point of view.
Okay, that's all right. Just want to make sure you can comply with item 1. Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder for the amendment? No seconder, so it lapses. So, Councillor Harris, you have this?
Oh, no, I thought you wanted me to speak, because I had my hand up before.
So the amendment is lapsed. Councillor Harris is in. Councillor Barnett, you still have more than 5 minutes left if you wish to add anything further. You don't have to. Okay.
Not much.
Councillor Harris?
Yeah, I'd start with a question, then I'll make my comments. The question around what the CEO just told us a moment ago, that our duties, we're supposed to report it and hand it over and that sort of stuff. I had the feeling, I haven't read the legal documents because I wasn't ready for this.
Sure, it's I'm just at a loss. The mover has moved. There's been no seconder.
Correct.
I'm on the way around.
The amendment's lapsed, as I said, it's lapsed. Move on to the next speaker to the motion.
So we're back to the,
So before you enact on, we're at clause 255 of the, Thank you, Councillor Harris.
That I believe at one stage there we had reported it to the Ombudsman and went down that track. So I thought we'd done that process.
CEO, can you just explain where we're at?
Yeah, through there, we have reported the matter to the Ombudsman. What we're saying here is we need to further report non-compliance with the conditions imposed on Councillor Priest. So Councillor Priest did not respond to the requirements imposed upon him, and so we have to report that component on as well. If we don't report that, then we're breaching the code.
Okay.
Harris.
I'll tackle the code. I'm not supporting it because I believe this bloke has caused us enough problems, and we deemed that. We went down a process and followed it through, and we've done that, and we've gone, and in his wisdom, he's not coming back, at least for this 4 years, not coming back, and I'm inclined right back. I'm not moving anything because I won't get the second part to take the no action business up the top, because I can't call him that A word, but these people, bullies, I'll stick to bullies and cruel people and people that disrupt other lives and that, why give them any more plate to stand on? So I believe we should do no more. He's gone, and that should be it. So unfortunately, I'll vote against the motion.
Yeah, thank you. Further speakers? Councillor Green.
Look, I'll be very brief because I think a lot's been said on this. Look, I just want to. Look, I will be supporting this. I just want to probably explain my reasons for it. I think under the code we do have a very clear responsibility to do certain things with elected members, and we've had training here in the past around that. And it is something that I take very seriously as an elected member. And I think we have no choice but to do it, and that's why I'll be voting for it. Just in terms of limiting the legal costs, I wouldn't think there would be a lot of legal costs in this anyway. I didn't support the motion because I wouldn't want a cost imperative or a timeliness issue to come back to council to prevent us from fulfilling effectively what is our legal obligation to do. So that's just as an explanation as to why I didn't support the amendment. I think we need to go through this process. It's a very unfortunate situation. This whole issue that's taken a lot of our time, and it's not to take any more of our time.
Thank you. I'll speak briefly from the Chair. I agree we have an obligation to report it. Secondly, we don't know where this person will pop up next in another election and another time frame, and we need to make sure this thing's taken to finality. And thirdly, the only way we can enforce the financial penalty that we've resolved to apply is through a district court action, which is possible under the new code. But you must go through a process in order to get that enforced as a court action, and this is the process. So we would hope at the end of the day that we would get that dealt with, and who knows whether we'll ever get that paid, but I just think, you know, we owe it to the ratepayers to do what we have done under the Act anyway, and secondly, to follow the process to recover their ratepayers' money as best we can. And I think it would just be good for us to find out what is involved in that process. I'm hoping it's very, very straightforward because I think we've done all the hard work. And I'm hoping we don't need lawyers at all rather than a tick the letter to say yes. Not directly to the CEO, but that's what I hope is all we would need. So I'll be supporting it. I think we've all spoken. Councillor Dixon, we should sum up.
Yes. Well, I haven't actually.
Sorry?
Even though I moved the amendments. Does that mean that I've
spoken the motion by moving an amendment?
You don't get to sum up an amendment.
All right, okay.
Yeah. We used to. So I did go back to you to see if you wanted to say anything else. Sorry, Councillor, I gave you, I thought, ample opportunity.
Yes, but it's a bit after the horse was bolted with other comments. But no, I accept that that's what it is.
I'm bound by the Act and your very good meeting procedures that I'm trying to apply. So, Councillor Dixon, if you could sum up.
As to the $2,000, you just can't hold time. something like this. You either recognise you have responsibilities or you don't recognise, and you can't have a halfway house. You can't half investigate and then say the money's run out. I don't want to spend the money, not for one moment. We've spent $60,000 so far. Let's tax it up a bit more. But there are two entities we owe this to. One, local government large, and to Lindy. Forgotten party in this. She's had nothing out of this, no apology, no nothing, been through a traumatic experience, and for the sake of $2,000 we might decide we won't go down the track we should go. I'm not happy with that at all. I just wouldn't put a limit on that. I would like not to think it became big money, but on behalf of her, I believe we should not back away from taking the action that is required of us in law and we're morally obliged to take. So I'm more than pleased that the amendment failed. I think it was ill thought through, and it does not support either the law or the person.
I have no objection to that.
Let's just say...
Where is it against the law to put
point of order, Councillor?
a point of order? Yeah.
Point of order is?
My point of order is that I'd like to know what is the legal precedent for the councillor stating that.
It's not a point of order, is it, Councillor?
Well, I think I've made my point.
Councillor Dixon, continue your summing up.
I understood it, I'm not arguing it, but I didn't. But, yeah, simply, the law is the law, you have to fund it, and I think on behalf of Lindy, we owe to her for what an elected member did.
That sums it up. All those in favour? Against? It's carried. Thank you. It was unanimous.
No, I put my hand up.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll note that's unanimous. Please, Mr. Secretary. Thank you. Next item that was withdrawn was item 20.2, the election of representative members in the Local Government Finance Authority Board of Trustees on page 1537.
Question.
Yeah.
Question, Councillor Lee?
Are these independent positions?
Independent of...
Well, if these gentlemen don't get back in the election, do they still remain on the board, or do we have to go through another whole process of nominations?
No, they have to be elected. The staff members.
Theo, so I'll take that question. Theo, do you know the answer to that question? Somebody somewhere? I'm afraid I don't. I'm not on this board at all.
They're a councillor and they're elected as a councillor, they wouldn't get back on.
It's very untimely.
Yeah.
My question.
Been raised. They have their own constitution, their own timing. I don't know the answer, Councillor. I presume that they will let us know if that's a problem.
Just question, comment. Isn't it really ridiculous to be electing people at this late stage?
I don't think we should diselect them for that reason, though.
Thank you for comment.
Question? I have a question. Isn't it?
Do we wish to, sorry, do we need some discussion? Perhaps I should spend the procedures for till 8:15 with your permission. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Any discussion on who people want to nominate? I don't think we have.
I thought we were going to discuss Monica's thing, because I got a big problem with that.
Well, been there and done that.
Wait.
That discussion at any rate.
We have, yeah. I mean, we don't write the constitutions of local government finance authorities. They are a separate authority to the LGA, even though we're in the same group. It is not a formal connection. And they have their AGM on the same day as the LGA's AGM, but it's a separate AGM, chaired separately, and it's addressed by their CEO.
It's all right, sir. Don't explain that bit to me.
Well, just I can't change the rules.
No, the two bits that have got me, and I didn't hear or I didn't understand properly, the people we're looking at, are they councillor people or are they independent people?
Well, they've got councillor.
Okay, well let's stick with the councillor people. The possibility they're running for an election for. Apart from yourself and Christina here, none of us four might be here in November.
Yep.
No.
We're making a decision.
Neither of these two might be returned.
Yeah, well, I've already said that one.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, so that's why I was glad that you went for that 15 minutes, because I have those two concerns, that we could be voting for someone that's legally not going to be there. They might be on that, but then they're not as a councillor, and 4 of us here might not be here, and we're voting for what our opinion is, you know?
It's democracy.
The vagaries of the local government system.
That doesn't concern me so much. It's more that they might not be.
Yeah, well, I've said the both.
Yeah. But I think I'd rather write them a letter and remind them that when the election date is, it has been a while since the government changed it, and they just haven't caught up.
I'm happy to do that, councillors, but in the meantime, we've been asked if we wish to nominate anybody. I don't believe we're obliged to nominate 2 or 1 or anyone at all. Councillor.
Just 2 things. One is, understanding is that these are actually independent members, so whether they're a councillor, a staff member, current councillor, or not a new councillor, it's a moot point. That's my understanding. I don't know anything.
Sorry, so does that mean if neither of them are returned, they still serve on this board?
That's my understanding.
And that's okay?
And where did you get that understanding from?
From Googling the Local Government Finance Authority and understanding there.
Doing some research, councillor. Very good.
I would, look, I don't know any of the individuals, except for one who I served with on the Eastern EBEC, what's called that, East Side Business Enterprise Centre, which is Councillor John
Probably.
and his credentials on paper and knowing him in person on that committee was I was very positive. I would be happy to nominate him. I can't comment on the others personally.
I don't know any of them personally, so you know there's sort of no bias there. But just on what was presented to us, and I've just checked Councillor Frogley with unofficially with Councillor Dixon, have been on the Waste Care Board, and so I was quite thinking Councillor John Frogley with his credentials, and Annette Martin, who is a staff officer, and I thought her credentials are quite good as well. So that would be my jumping for.
Yep, thank you. Any other comments?
I'm on the Waste Care SA with Mr. Frogley. It strikes me as a pretty, I just can't compare him, that's my problem. He strikes me as a good soul, put a lot of time into local government. And he's got all the qualifications, but how I compare him to anybody else is, do you have any knowledge of him, David?
Not specifically, no. No, not enough to sway your opinion one way or the other. Can I suggest that if we're only comfortable with one because we know the one, we put one name forward. I'm not sure, CEO, that there's a problem with that, is there?
No.
Councillor Barnett has suggested a second name, which can also be put forward if you wish.
Who's the name?
Annette Martin.
So she's actually a staff
person. Yeah, she's a director of finance and got into quite good qualifications and experience.
I might ask him whether there may be procedures is aware of their qualifications and experience in the area of heavy finance.
And that was the campaign chair of Finance Managers Group, in 2 of them. And she has been a strong advocate for local government. When we talk to, I guess, the valuation group, when we talk about valuation, or when we talk to LGA about any sort of legislation changes. So she is a strong advocate.
Okay, well, there's a comment. Somebody knows her at least.
Does anyone know Mark Heinrich?
No.
No. No, we've got a letter of reference for 2 of the candidates, but that is all. So Councillor Sanderson and from Mr. Frogley himself.
Well, why don't we pick the frog and the lady you said?
The frog and the princess.
There are two people that...
Not the way we make our decisions.
Fogarty.
Well, I mean, that seems okay to me. Has anybody got an objection to that?
Sounds all right to me.
Okay, I'll call us back in the session.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, just to clarify in terms of membership, if I can, the authority is managed by a board of trustees, which consists of 7 members, plus up to 2 independent members who can be appointed by the board from time to time. 2 trustees are nominated by the Local Government Association. 1 trustee is the CEO of the LGA. 2 members are elected by councils. 1 trustee is appointed by the Treasurer, and the other is the Minister's representative. So the representatives are appointed by councils. They don't have to be council members.
Thank you. Clarification.
Question.
Call us back in the session. Councillor Barnett, do you wish to move?
Yes, I'll move that.
Not a little more eloquently than Councillor Harris.
Councillor Frogley, or the names up there, J.W. Frogley and A.P. Martin, be nominated as representatives on the Local Government Finance Authority Board of Trustees.
Thank you. You should speak to any further?
No, I think we've said enough.
Seconded by Councillor Bruce. Wish to speak to it?
No.
Any further speakers? Those in favour? Against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Next item pulled out was item 20.4, Cost Association with video recording of council meetings and workshops, page 1554.
No, just got so many pages.
Just a brief reason why you pulled it out, Councillor, to start with.
To look at the costs we applied in terms of the overheads.
Separate question. Okay. Well, I might take a couple of questions before we get this one on the floor. So, going to start with your question. I saw a bit of email exchange about percentage overheads, whether 15 was correct or whether it should be 40, which is kind of more the mark. Is that the nature of the question?
Yeah, I mean, out there in the real world, it would be at least 50%. I would have thought local government myself would probably be more. It'd have to be, as I agree with you, rock bottom minimum would be 40%, because you really must have to take in cost of the CEO, cost of the directors, cost of the entire support group, cost of all the space here, electricity, gas, you name it. And as you increase staff, you increase greater need. So every single cost, it's really like taking the entire cost and dividing it by the number of staff, and that's roughly how you get your figure. And that has great validity. You cannot just work on the on-costs of superannuation, a couple of other things, which nuts you up to about, I don't know, 15%. Even that, I might argue, is a tad bit low because people have to look after superannuation. There are lots of involved in the costs in superannuation on top of just the funds of it. But I would have thought minimum is 40%, more likely somewhat higher, and those are the costs we should bring into play, because if more of this happens and we then have to go to another FTE or a half an FTE, those costs come to bear. And I would like to see those costs included so that we make an educated decision.
Okay, thank you. So I think there's a long question.
Yeah, just a long question.
Director, do you have a comment on whether 15% is the right number for your analysis to us, or whether you'd be prepared to revise that number to something else?
Yes. Through the Chair, the 50% for this particular exercise, we're just looking at what is the direct cost of providing video conferencing and the on-cost associated to it. Yes, if we were in the competitive tendering exercise, we will need to look at the entire cost of allocation. So Council currently do have a very basic reallocation of costs, of overhead costs. For instance, what about governance, IT, the lot. We do have it, but it's at a departmental activity level. So we haven't actually gone down to this particular level. We can embark on this exercise, but it will be quite an exercise that will take a lot of time and to look through the whole module as a whole. I do agree with Councillor Dixon, that is that will be the issue. We will to go out and cost out.
Okay, thank you. Another question, Councillor Brooke. Yeah.
Look, just one quick one. I would have thought the Local Government Association might have done a lot of that work for us and have across the industry sort of gut feel figures, which they haven't done. Right. Something else I think they should have been doing, but they haven't.
The Finance Managers Association might have done something on it, though, perhaps, directly?
Yeah, the President of the Association.
Through the chair,
Not the finance one.
the regional councils may have, they may be more advanced in more so than the metro councils. For instance, they provide a state scheme and they provide a lot of service charge, a separate service charge. For them to actually allocate an amount, they need to make sure that all their costs are allocated. So those regional councils would have a lot of those cost attribution that will enhance their.
I'd bring a few of the local councils too, like Unley and they've got more of the wherewithal.
Possible, Councillor. Another question. Councillor Britt, do you have a question?
I had a couple, if I can.
Sure.
I'm happy to let the debate, but I'll start and see if I can stop. Look, I can't argue against the issue of cost. I think Ashley makes a good point. Councillor Dixon makes a good point. Just in terms of the activity 3 and 4, because, I mean, clearly this is a large cost, but activity 3 in particular, somebody sitting down and watching the whole thing, my question would be, is that necessary for us to do that? We're looking at kind of compressing costs. Could it be that if there is an error and someone's watching and they contact us, that's when we might do that as a way? So the question is it possible to reduce costs in that way? Similarly, for activity 4, the processing file uploading on YouTube, 3 hours, I'm presuming that's an upload time as opposed to staff actually having to sit at their computer doing nothing but watch the little upload button, get people to get the video. I would have thought that staff would be doing other things while it's uploading. So I'm just not sure that's a true cost.
Do you need all that time for task 3 and 4?
Yes, well, just task, task 3, that work is a combination of download, re-downloading, liaising with the vendor in New Zealand, and checking the video. So quite a bit of time actually spent checking the video, in fact it's going up to YouTube. So when as soon as one of the officers becomes aware of an issue, then all of a sudden that video is considered to be spoilt and needs to be looked at carefully to make sure there are no other errors, things that are the gaps. The activity 4, which is around the processing file, there's quite a bit of work involved there because the files need to be rendered. There is some physical activity that needs to be performed on the file. So it's not necessarily just running it and running a process go. It impacts the machine that's being worked on because it starts using up all the computing power on the machine. So that takes her away from actually working on other activities on the machine. But there is a putting on the banners, identifying those areas of blanks where she needs to locate, put in a sign called technical difficulty. So if you see them on YouTube, you'll actually see that that's been recognised. So it's not a problem with the video that's watching the screen. It's actually an issue with the video itself. So there's quite a bit of work involved. So activity 4 is actually physical work. And it will vary, and the time variance there is because of how error-prone the video is. So if it's a clean video, it'll be very quick, it'll be the minimum of that range, but if it's an issue repeating, that's the reason why it extends so much.
Thank you.
Look, if I was faced with the choice between, putting up a video that might be substandard that we don't know versus spending lots of time doing this and knowing it's a perfect video, I'd probably choose the former and take the risk. But I'll talk a bit more about that later. Because I think there's some things we could do there to improve that. The second question I had was around the costs, 4.3. So there's $28,000 in costs. Two parts to my question. One is, in terms of the software that we use, I understand there was going to be an upgrade which was going to ameliorate some of those costs and the timing, because for us to have to go overseas to render a file just seems to be lots, running around circles a bit where we may not need to. The second question though is how much of these costs were covered by the grant we received to set up the service? Because I know, as I understand from Justin many moons ago, this was largely funded through a grant. So how much of this cost are our costs outside the grant versus the grant? How long?
Yeah.
Yeah, through the chair, the grant only includes the implementation part of the video conferencing. So these are the ongoing costs of actually providing the service, ongoing cost of providing the license fee. So these are our costs.
So just follow up on that. So we're spending $28,630 just for this.
That is correct. That is the estimate.
So just while you're on your feet, Director, could I just follow on from that question? Item 4.3, first on telecommunications, cost 16,450. Is that high-speed fibre link between us and TTG only for this video conferencing?
Just that.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So the chair, that is correct, because the FaceMe software is actually hosted at the CTTG.
And who funded that $16,000 cost?
This is part of Council's ongoing maintenance for funding this MCON cost. When the NBN rollout has been completed, it will change, and then we will renegotiate what is the connectivity between the two sides.
So just to be really clear, if we decided to stop videoing and uploading, we would not pay any of that $16,450. We just cut it, and we wouldn't need it, we wouldn't miss it. Is that correct? So if we decided not to video and upload our meetings, would we not need any of that $16,450?
Yeah,
Chair, that is correct. Yeah, at the moment the server, the computer itself, which we use FaceMe, is stored at Titra Gully, and it's actually shared. So when Titra Gully uses FaceMe, we use it shared line. The line is a high-speed fibre link between this building and Titra Gully, and that's actually used by us, and it's also a shared line. That's costed. Now the other thing that we're using that line for is taking advantage of that line that backups and disaster recovery. So if we were to turn it off, they'll just need to do it in a different way. But they're actually taking advantage of that line over the last few months.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I keep going? So what you're saying is that $16,000 cost is not wholly attributed to this, to FaceTime?
Initially, my understanding it was, and it should, but because it has capacity, it's being used also for backup, drifting some backups into Titra Gully and the tapes. But ultimately that can be switched off and they have to find a different way to okay. That's not the reason for it.
Yeah.
And hence my question, Councillor, since we could do without it.
Yeah. So my last question, sorry, to break this on a bit, how much would a server cost to be located here?
That's something that I have to investigate. We were looking for conversations were around $6,000 to bring the computer here.
But a third of that cost.
Sorry, Councillor.
Yeah,
I think the question is, if it was physically here, what would the fibre link be to get it from the server up to the wherever from Prospect?
we would have an issue the other way around, where Titra Gully needs to connect to the server. Unless everyone's got this, we split the servers up as two specific servers.
Sorry, Bob, just to clarify my question, it's more about if we hosted it here as opposed to hosting it at Titra Gully. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Councillor Barnett.
Yes. So I just want to tease out some questions. So where we currently, this is the cost for recording our workshops as well as our council meetings. Is that correct? So I know some would be happy for the workshops not to be recorded. Yes. So are we out of that grant? We don't have to satisfy any grant requirements yet?
Is that the question, correct?
Through the chair, the main aim of the grant is to make it accessible to the community. It didn't stipulate what you record and what don't you record. So the key aim is to bring council meetings to the community. They can watch it in their own home. So it wasn't stipulated. We have acquitted the grant. According to the grant report, it was exactly, so that's where we are.
Yes. So I think then perhaps that's one option that we could think about in the overall context of this. It's not recording the workshops, and so that would would cut costs. I don't know, obviously, by how much. The other one is, though, we keep our recordings for, can I just be refreshed how long we keep the recordings for?
2 months.
Through the chair, there is a link to our website for 2 months, but it's in YouTube, I guess it's forever. You can always search it, but for our residents, they can look through it.
Yeah.
No cost.
No cost.
Yes, all right then. And the other thing is, what would be the implications if we move to defer it, put it on hold until the new council comes in and the new version of Face Me is available to save the 50% cost?
You can't sit down for that.
Oh, it's a good stretch.
Mr. Chair, this report is brought to this council purely because of the resolution of the previous council to want to look at the costing, to provide a costing to be noted. So that is the reason why this report is here. There's no discussion about any decision about whether we record the video conferencing. Regarding to the cost, that will reduce the staff cost if we were to record just the council meeting. This is preliminary. We still need to commit to the licensing costs and all the MPN, the M.
Okay, thank you. So any further questions?
Just one. One thing I will do at the end of this is call for a report on to provide the costings we were given 2 years ago as against what we have today. Because to me there is no recollection between the two. There's just an issue here that isn't adding up, and I think this would have had a much harder path to get through had some of this detail been available. I know you're moving through and doing the costing of the shared agreement between us and Tea Tree Gully. When does that come to fruition?
That question, but there's not any other questions in there. Take that one. Question?
Through the chair, the shared service level agreement is happening right now by our internal auditor. So that's planned to complete, due to complete either end of September, and in the first instance it will go to an audit committee and do a workshop with council, and then it will come to council about.
Okay.
Not what happens in this term, because then there's the knowledge base here. So.
All right. So I think we've had plenty of time for... Sorry, Director. Director, finishing up your answer to the question?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Through the chair, when you say finishing this term, the report, the decision has to be for a new council.
Sure. Absolutely. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, thank you. So, had plenty of time for questions. Does somebody wish to move that we receive and note the report? Councillor Brute, with respect to it?
Yes, please. Look, I will move it. As I've said many times before, I'm really supportive of us having this facility at council meetings. I am really surprised at the costs, and since Councillor Dixon wasn't aware that some of these costs were as high as they are, I still can't understand why it costs what it does to effectively upload a video to YouTube. Some people around the table have probably done this in the past. I'm sure Councillor Harris, you've uploaded things to YouTube in your time, and I don't. It doesn't seem to be an arduous task, and I accept that a 3-hour video is much more than a 2-minute video, but the costs are just excessive. And I don't think anyone can argue against that. That said, it is really important for us to do this. It's important for us to do this for transparency, even if we're only having 30 people a month or 100 people a month, whatever it might be. I really believe in this. I certainly would accept us looking at the workshops being recorded, and I know that I led the charge for that to happen, but if there is a reduction in cost as a result of us not recording the workshops, I think that's something we should look at, or certainly the new council will look at. But some of the costs are fixed costs as well. So, for example, the fibre link is a fixed cost. It doesn't matter whether we use it once a month or 4 times a month. It's a fixed cost. But in budgeting for that, we do need to look at other uses for that fibre link, and if it is being used, whether it's coincidental or opportunistic, it doesn't matter. It still would become a shared cost, not just all for this program. So, look, the paper in itself is just receiving a report. I think it's a great report. It certainly set up some debate, and I think we'll be revisiting this again fairly soon.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Harris.
I'll second it, particularly the recommendation that's written. The reason I'll second it is because I do oppose the workshop part of it. So, following up from one of the councillors earlier on that made the comments, that I think we take this like it is, support this, and then if we happen to be here next round, or whoever happens to be here next round, we look again at the cost and how we set it up, and particularly the workshops versus this one. Thank you.
Any further debate? Just from the chair, the costs are about $1,000 a meeting, and I don't think, I find difficulty defending that. I agree with the principle of the council groups forward, but I'm pretty sure, you know, funding a intro program every single meeting instead of this would be pretty tempting in terms of the discussion. So I look forward to Councillor Dixon's motion under general business. Councillor Dixon, about us bringing this back so that it makes sure that we're disciplined for the next council to think about this issue. And I agree that what we're getting, the costs are excessive. And if we're getting an average of 30 users, you know, you've got to think $1,000 over 30 users. You know, I'm not sure that even they would think that's good bang for buck. So I think we've heard. Yeah. We can try and see what a gold coin donation might do.
Check it a bar dinner.
Quite happy to challenge this with more information, and look forward to doing that probably about maybe 2 to 3 months. I don't think we should leave it terribly long. And when that report comes that Councillor Dixon's going to request, it might be good for us to have the severance implications if we do decide to cut. Like when does the licensing fee run out, and when does the fibre deal run out?
And when NBN might help.
Well, you still have to pay for NBN, so that won't be free. But yes, we'll find out from a service provider, for instance, if we had, you know, fibre in, what would it cost us? Okay, thank you. Any further debate on the item? Otherwise, I'll throw to Councillor Brute to sum up. If he needs to. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. That concludes the council report section. Council diary, the farmers market, of course, on every Thursday. The weather's getting better, so encourage your all the people you're door knocking to come down Thursday. The Prospect Digital Artists and Residents exhibition is running out to the 28th of September. Hopefully you've gone and have a look. The Club 502 on the 26th of September and the 10th of October. The NBN information session on the 27th of September. Global Settings exhibitions, the new gallery opening on the 12th of October, and of course the election dates there. Ballot papers posted out in that week, the 20th and 24th. Voting closes on Friday at 5 p.m. So the set ballot papers here in the council chamber. And of course, I'm sure we'll be looking at each other on the day of Saturday, the 8th of November, to work out what the people have chosen. Any general business? Councillor Brute.
Yes. A report, well, I'll read it first and I'll talk to it. A report being prepared on the current balance of the car park fund and future options for using these funds for additional car parking in the City of Prospect and in particular along Prospect Road. As you all know, the DAP considered a fairly major proposal just recently, and Councillor Dixon was focusing on the DAP. And the issue of car parking came up as one of the major issues, as people know. I emailed the CEO after that meeting and talked about the need for us to have a plan around that money. And it's certainly something that probably us and this council won't consider, but the new council will. But I think it's important to keep it ticking along, particularly if there are different people sitting around the table in a couple of months' time. I think it's important for us to have a plan. I've spoken to some people from other councils, all of which have a plan about how they use their money, how they're going to look at using it. So I'm just keen for us to explore those options and see from an administration point of view whether we do have a plan for car parking and what we might do. So I think a simple report is all I'm after, to give us a bit of information, and hence I've read that report.
My understanding is we have a plan, but they can come in the report. Seconder, Councillor Barnett?
Yes. Yes, I think it's important. It has been sitting there for quite a long time, and I think with the developers who have paid into it and to our residents in good faith that we should be looking at this. I think also with I would like to have it checked out whether under the conditions of the car park fund, whether, for example, in Rose Street, whether that street can be, there's some talk about changing the layout of the street to get more car parks within the street itself. And so within that report, you know, I'd like to see if that's a feasible use of some of the money.
Only to say I was a tad amused that my good councillor friend on the right felt a need to add in the city of Prospect, as it's unlikely we would deprive them anywhere else.
Prospect Road is a long road.
So the city of Prospect?
Yeah, Prospect Road.
Wants to be very, very sure, Councillor Dixon.
Well, yes, that could have been. You could know that.
No.
Never know what can happen.
Any further debate? If not, Councillor Booth, we should sum up your own speech. No, good. Thank you. All those in favour? Yes, it's carried. Any further items of general business?
Yes, I apologise. I normally have these prepared, but they only came up as a consequence of the report. So a report be provided comparing the costs initially advised to implement the recording of workshops and council meetings compared to the costs now found to be required.
Compared to the costs. Compared to the costs recently advised.
Yes. Compared to the costs recently advised.
Did you wish to say within the City of Prospect, Councillor, or you're happy?
No, well, I've got more faith in the staff than my fellow councillors.
I've never done one before.
Uphill. Whatever part of the act you referred to.
I thought it was 297. It was 295.
Surveying.
Have a debate.
Surveying Dixon. Yeah, Councillor Dixon.
And I wouldn't mind adding report to advise if alternative use, if there is potential for alternative use of the hardware and the links.
Can you just say potential alternatives or something more broad?
That might miss the particular one I'm thinking about. I don't mind adding your bit as well, whatever your bit was. But I specifically see an opportunity. I guess what I'm asking, I know one of the forward plans was to look at back up across our various areas between T3. They back up to us, we back up to them. And I'm not sure to what extent we had already got there. But it was originally costed in the initial thing 3 years ago, and that may not have occurred, and this might mitigate some of those costs. We'd have to write all of that. But I'm sure Ginny will understand and just look at what, and perhaps even what other else might be able to be brought into that those links to mitigate the overall cost. And yeah, I'm also getting rid of the workshops out of the operation. Just over the council meeting.
Sorry, Director, you're just questioning something about it? You've got some suggested words for the council?
Through the chair, are you specifically referring to the links, the cost of the link?
Anything you can think of, but also the links. David can brief you on the rest. He had a go at it, so.
Sure, one should get one.
You've done it in.
Yeah. That might help.
A potential broader. Oh, okay, potential broader use of the high-speed fibre. Okay.
Sorry, Councillor, could you also add alternative methods of uploading the video content?
Investigate.
Absolutely.
A cheaper program, perhaps.
Investigate.
Give me the nod and I'll do it for you.
And use the high-speed link and investigate.
Uploading the video content.
You could have somebody come in and just...
Sure, that's what you said, Councillor, is that true?
This is what my husband does all day long. It's not cheap.
I wouldn't mind actually also including what changes the new software will make. The point is going down the track, only comparing when the new software might get rid of half of what we're looking at. So if Royal East High Speed Link investigate alternative methods of uploading video content.
And the impact of upgraded software.
And the effect, yes, does it.
Anyone else want to have a go?
Well, let's see. What
No?
That's my TV channel.
Further your excellent motion.
Of the upgraded software is a bit basic. What's the software called?
Face Me software.
Yeah. What's the new one?
version.
Face Me 2?
Face Me version 4.
That's it. So if you can put that in.
3.
Yeah, that is upgrade to Face Me version 3. 111 or 3?
Version 3, and the
Figures are
complete rewrite of the system, but in the recording MP4, that's the only difference.
Right, but that's going to make quite a
That's
difference.
upgrade to
Councillor, you're now speaking to your motion. Have you finished yet?
I have.
Did you do have a second, Councillor Booth? Would you speak to it? Any further debate? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Any further items of general business? Councillor Harris.
I haven't got a motion for it yet and might not be necessary. I want to make comment again and about the free advertising opposite Scotty's Motel with the trucks. And I'll start by using what you said, calling them trailers and that. There is only one prime mover being used for a low loader, for the machine, and for 3 trailers that are left out. So maybe about the only way we can go about it if we can't do free advertising or third-party advertising. Looking at the Besser block, building 487, I think it is, Besser blocks, 2 loads out, gone 2 days. The amount they got left going, a week. I'd like to ask these people how long they intend to be there, demolishing, and clearing. Not so much what they're going to build.
So is your motion that the staff investigate enforcement action possible against the mobile third-party advertising?
Yes.
Well, that's what you said.
I can't imagine though where they're breaking any. What stops them parking the truck there while they're doing work, no matter how long it takes?
Oh, we have dealt with this before, and yeah.
They can park around the back.
Service station on Regency Road, corner of Lee Street, had a lot of it, and eventually we got someone.
About 4 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, this one's not going to be much different by the time it's
we have to investigate potential enforcement action, or potential for enforcement action against unauthorised mobile third-party advertising on the corner of Main North Road and Knox Terrace. We have a street address, correct?
Through the chair, off the top of my head, but we're well aware of the site based on that.
Oh, sorry, Main North Road and sorry.
Dark.
still called Scotty's Corner, even though the Scotsman's on the other side.
Yeah, it's on the other side, yeah, so we don't get confused. So, Councillor, is that what you're happy to move?
Yes.
Okay. Would you speak to it any further?
Just very briefly to say, because it was raised by others, you know, that we can't stop people putting trucks on and all that, but it's like other things, if they've got an alternative motive, and I see the alternative motive as free advertising, and the position of the trucks could be nose in, nose out, and it wouldn't happen, but they're deliberately every time being left. You'll find one's missing tonight, you'll find that's on another job, so you find no prime mover there, and just the trailers left there.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Dr. Seconder. Councillor Quick, with respect to it. Do we have any further debate? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Any further general business? Councillor Harris.
Well, I just wanted to take the opportunity. We're in a gamble, but Scott Roberts isn't, and I'd like to go through the meeting and thank him for, even though it was a brief time, for his time on council, and he's a bit like the other chap that went, his concern, his knowledge, and the way he worked with us, and the good effort he put in for the time he was on here, so I'd like to recognise that. not his political persuasions, but for his attitude at council. I think he done a very good job.
Did you wish to move that way?
Yes, please. As a thank you and appreciation of him putting his heart into the council. Oh, we got another meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're moving at this time. Oh, sorry, he may be at the next meeting.
I'd better put it.
Well, then with that, we should
There you are.
Do it then.
Yeah, well, look, I'll leave it. The main reason I was bringing it up now because I thought it was our last one. I thought we were in
To
October.
answer your question, no, it's not, Councillor. There is another meeting. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, well, I'm more than happy to leave it to the next
Which
one.
will give you a chance to write it down. Excellent suggestion, Councillor.
Are we in October already? No.
Next.
You've got another 4 weeks to write down that motion and give it to the staff.
Next
Tuesday.
Each one of us. It's right, not just the guy. Could be all of us.
Very good of you. Any further general business?
if I might, to the Director of all things bright and beautiful, planning and communications now. Similar to this, I've really been having a go at emailing the staff about the third-party advertising on the planning side, who have advertising Coles, which I would matter less, except Coles is not in City of Prospect and not paying us rates. They're in Port Adelaide Enfield. And I've probably been hammering on for 3 months. Do you know where it has a Section 84 notice gone out?
It's a question without notice, Councillor, but I will allow a brief answer.
Thanks, Director. And through you, Mr Mayor,
There's a section with an 84 notice actually.
I believe a letter has been sent to Bunnings, being the landowner, but as yet we haven't followed up with Section 84. I think we've given them a time frame in which to respond to that letter, which would be close to coming up, but I will check.
Thank you. Any further general business? No. General business of an urgent nature? Is there any? No. Confidential items are nil. Meeting is closed. Thank you. Councillors, staff, gallery.